Norway is a country where geography dictates lifestyle, where land and water carve not only landscapes but also human behavior. Stretching along the edge of northern Europe, Norway presents itself as a place shaped by ice, wind, and long cycles of light and darkness. Travelers come here not for abundance of attractions but for clarity of experience. The terrain feels intentional, the silence feels designed, and movement across the country reveals how people have adapted to an environment that demands awareness rather than control. Norway does not overwhelm visitors with choices. Instead, it invites them to observe carefully. Arrival into Norway introduces a sense of order that feels natural rather than imposed. Cities are designed around space, water, and access to nature, reflecting a national approach that prioritizes balance. Oslo, the capital, reflects this mindset clearly. Positioned where forest meets fjord, the city feels open and restrained at the same time. Visitors explore Oslo to understand how modern Scandinavian life operates within environmental limits. Cultural institutions, waterfront areas, and residential zones exist without sharp contrast, offering insight into a society that values function, simplicity, and long-term planning. Leaving the capital reveals Norway's true scale as distances stretch and landscapes open dramatically. Travel across the country quickly becomes an experience rather than a transition. The terrain shifts from cultivated land to rising rock faces and deep valleys, showing how human settlement becomes less dominant as nature grows more pronounced. This gradual transformation is one of the main reasons travelers choose Norway, as it allows them to feel movement through geography rather than movement between tourist points. Norway's western region introduces one of the most defining features of the country, the fjord system. These long, narrow waterways cut deep into the land, creating vertical walls of stone that descend directly into water. Travelers explore these areas to witness geological history made visible, where glacier-shaped valleys over thousands of years. Boat journeys through these waters create a sense of scale that cannot be replicated on land, allowing visitors to understand how water defines Norwegian geography. Fjord stands out as a location where natural forces appear carefully arranged rather than chaotic. Visitors travel here to experience a sense of proportion, where steep cliffs, waterfalls, and still water exist in harmony. The area attracts travelers interested in slow observation rather than activity, as the environment itself becomes the primary subject. Movement through the fjord feels deliberate, reinforcing the idea that Norway is experienced best at reduced speed. Bergen introduces a different relationship with the environment, shaped by trade, weather, and coastal access. Historically developed as a port, the city maintains a strong connection to the sea. Travelers explore Bergen to observe how maritime influence shaped architecture, commerce, and daily routines. The presence of surrounding hills creates a natural boundary, while frequent rainfall contributes to a constantly shifting atmosphere. This interaction between water, land, and settlement gives Bergen a character defined by adaptation. Northern Norway presents an even more extreme expression of geography. The Lofoten Islands attract travelers seeking landscapes that appear suspended between sea and sky. Sharp peaks rise directly from open water, while small communities exist in visually exposed locations. Visitors come here to understand how people live within environments that offer little shelter but immense visual presence. Fishing traditions, weather patterns, and light conditions shape daily life in ways that remain visible to outsiders. Tromso introduces travelers to life within the Arctic Circle, where seasonal variation defines experience. Visitors travel here to understand how human activity continues despite long periods of darkness or continuous daylight. The city functions as a cultural and logistical center for the region, offering insight into Arctic research, northern history, and contemporary life under extreme conditions. Tromso demonstrates how Norway maintains functionality without attempting to normalize its environment. One of the strongest motivations for visiting Norway is the Northern Lights. Travelers plan journeys specifically to observe this phenomenon, which appears during darker months when solar particles interact with the atmosphere. Unlike staged attractions, the Northern Lights require patience and acceptance of uncertainty. This unpredictability becomes part of the experience, reinforcing Norway's broader theme of cooperation with natural systems rather than control over them. Norway's road infrastructure reflects a different philosophy of travel. Routes are designed not for speed but for continuity through challenging terrain. The Atlantic Ocean Road exemplifies this approach, connecting islands through bridges that appear exposed yet stable. Travelers drive this route to experience the meeting point of engineering and open sea, where weather remains a visible factor rather than something hidden or avoided. Food in Norway reflects environmental limitations rather than culinary experimentation. One of the most widely encountered foods is salmon, prepared in ways that respect freshness and preservation. Visitors seek it not for novelty but to understand how coastal resources shaped national diets. The preparation methods highlight simplicity and reliability, values that extend beyond food into broader cultural behavior. Another dish travelers encounter is farikål, traditionally prepared using lamb and cabbage. This meal reflects seasonal awareness and minimal processing. Tourists are drawn to it as an example of how Norwegian cuisine developed through necessity rather than abundance. The dish communicates practicality and patience rather than indulgence. Brunost offers a contrasting food experience, surprising many visitors with its flavor profile. This brown cheese reflects how isolation and resourcefulness shaped unique food traditions. Tourists often try it out of curiosity, finding that it represents Norway's ability to develop identity independently from continental trends. Cultural expression in Norway is closely tied to national history. Constitution Day on May 17 provides travelers with insight into how national identity is expressed publicly. Visitors observe processions, traditional clothing, and family participation rather than performances aimed at tourists. The event emphasizes collective memory and civic pride rather than spectacle. Transportation across Norway mirrors its geography. Train routes are designed to connect distant regions while offering visual continuity through valleys, plateaus, and mountain passes. Travelers choose rail journeys not only for efficiency but for perspective, as elevation changes reveal how terrain dictates movement. Ferries function as essential links rather than optional experiences. Visitors use them to cross fjords and connect coastal communities, gaining awareness of how water replaces roads in many areas. This form of transport reinforces the idea that Norway's geography remains dominant over infrastructure. Urban public transportation supports daily life without overcrowding. Trams and buses operate with precision, allowing visitors to navigate cities without reliance on private vehicles. This efficiency reflects planning priorities centered on accessibility and reduced environmental impact. Social behavior in Norway leaves a clear impression on visitors. Communication tends to be measured, with personal space respected and public interactions kept calm. Travelers often notice that silence is not treated as discomfort but as neutrality, contributing to an environment that feels controlled without being rigid. Norwegian women represent an important aspect of social observation for visitors. Travelers observe women actively engaged in professional roles, outdoor activities, and leadership positions. Equality is visible through participation rather than discussion, presenting itself as an everyday reality rather than a defined identity. This integration contributes to the sense of balance visitors often associate with Norwegian society. Rural Norway presents a different rhythm of life, shaped by distance and climate. Small settlements exist in valleys, along coastlines, or near mountain bases, often separated by large natural spaces. Visitors explore these areas to observe how architecture, daily routines, and community structures adapt to isolation without appearing disconnected. Protected landscapes play a significant role in Norway's identity. National parks and conservation areas allow visitors access without extensive development. Trails, signage, and regulations are designed to minimize impact while maintaining freedom of movement. This approach reflects a national belief that exposure leads to respect. Norway's visual environment attracts photographers and filmmakers due to constant change. Light behaves differently at high latitudes, creating extended shadows, muted tones, and rapid weather shifts. These conditions are visual storytelling that emphasizes atmosphere over clarity, reinforcing Norway's cinematic reputation. Travel in Norway requires planning due to distance, cost, and climate. Visitors often approach their journeys deliberately, choosing fewer destinations and spending more time in each. This approach aligns naturally with the country's pace, encouraging depth rather than accumulation of experiences. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed the journey. Now tell us, which country should we explore next? Share your thoughts in the comments, and we'll see you in the next video.